Alrighty, everybody, welcome back. The 2022 NFL Draft has officially concluded, and the Dallas Cowboys now have some new players joining the team. Now, I'll give my thoughts and opinions on each particular pick. Now, before we do that, if you can like the video, that'd be greatly appreciated. Doesn't take too long to do and helps the video do a lot better in YouTube's algorithm. On top of that, subscribe if you're new. Trying to hit 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so your subscription would be greatly appreciated. Now, when it comes to this draft, I understand that I'm a bit more of the skeptical type. That does not mean I don't like any of the players that the Dallas Cowboys have selected. I want to make that very clear because, some people are thinking that I'm being negative on the draft class. I just think that you could have probably done better with your draft capital management. That's just where I get upset about with these picks. Now, we're going to go from day 1 to day 2 to day 3. Give my grades on each day and then an overall grade. So we start out with day 1. Round 1, the Cowboys pick Tyler Smith, the offensive tackle out of Tulsa. Now, I will tell you this. Was he a reach given the fact of who was on the board and stuff like that? In my opinion, yes. But based off of why the Cowboys took him, there were other teams that were interested, so the Cowboys, they stood pat and they took him. For me, you cannot play Tyler Smith at tackle and expect him to be successful day 1. I think that the penalties stuff is a bit overblown primarily because of the fact that he played tackle. And I believe, after looking at, the evidence of the film and stuff like that, that if he is a guard, and I think he should be a guard going forward, he will be very good if he is developed properly. The biggest thing is you don't have to worry about him being like a Connor Williams where it's like, okay, you're hoping he can bulk up. The dude's a big guy, so he is going to step in and be that option for Dallas at the left guard spot while he develops. Then you could kick him out to left tackle, but he is going to be on the left side of your line, whether it be guard or tackle. That's going to be his job. So for day 1, I'm going to give the pick a C+. I think I gave it a C. The reason I'm giving it a C+ is it comes down to how you manage him. And if he develops right, and I know that Joe Philbin, some of us like him, some of us don't like him. However, if Joe Philbin does his job and, he develops as fast as, or rather on the same trajectory that Terrence Steele did, this will be a solid pick for the Cowboys. So day 1, I would give it a C+. You address a need, but more importantly, you have to make sure you work with this kid. He's young and raw. Now you move on to day 2. The Dallas Cowboys took, they call him D. Williams apparently, but it's Sam Williams out of Ole Miss. I'm going to just call him Sam Williams. Apparently he goes by D. Williams. I don't know. Look, the guy is a boom or bust prospect in the sense of what he brings to the table. He's not terrible. Okay, I did say in my reaction video that he is a solid player. It really comes down to if the off-the-field issues are going to be a hassle. If he can get past that, the guy will be he'll be one hell of a player for you. Dan Quinn really likes this kid. I like the intangibles, but again, the Cowboys take a risk on a guy in the second round. And in the theme of this draft, number 1 is you're getting attitude, and I'm going to get into that in a good way, by the way. I'm going to get into that towards the end. But with taking Sam Williams in the second round, I felt like, again, it was a reach, but given where you were in the circumstances, you took him, okay, fine, moving on. That's kind of how the theme of it was. He has very good production out of Ole Miss, and if he can... again, similar to Tyler Smith, if you can tinker with him and you can unlock his potential, you got yourself a good player. Now, Jalen Tolbert, in my opinion, out of the first 3, is the most ready to go in the sense of what you're plugging him in to do in his role. Okay? Jalen Tolbert's a guy where, he reminds me a lot of Cedric Wilson's game, and that's good. I think actually Jalen Tolbert is a better prospect than Cedric Wilson, and I liked Wilson coming out of college. For Jalen, I think that you're probably looking at him being your wide receiver 2 until Gallup returns. That's what I'm banking on. The guy's got the ability to be a wide receiver 3 long term, which again, I wanted the Cowboys to take a wide receiver, and I'm glad he made it to pick 88 because he was the best player on my board at that time. So, congrats to the Cowboys to reach out and get him, and I think that he's going to be a good player. But it really comes down to how you organize this wide receiver room. But he definitely is a long-term answer at wide receiver 3. I feel like James Washington's a Band-Aid for this year, but that's just my personal opinion. I think for day 2, I give the Dallas Cowboys I'm going to go with a B minus. So they made out a little bit better on day 2. Then you go to day 3. When it comes to my draft evaluations of day 3, I'm looking at guys that you can possibly grow into the starting rotation, but also, value-wise, who are you getting and, is it good, is it bad type of thing. But day 3, I'm not super harsh on, okay? Because in the first 2 days, you got to get starters, right? And I think out of the first 3, Tyler Smith, he's your starting left guard, in my opinion. Sam Williams, he's going to eventually work his way into the starting rotation if he develops properly. And Jalen Tolbert's going to be a starting wide receiver for you, so cool. Jake Ferguson, liked the pick. I think it was a nice pick for the Cowboys. This is your Blake Jarwin or possible Dalton Schultz replacement. I believe that Jake Ferguson is a guy that who I believe he's a better blocker than Dalton Schultz. I think that he has more of a skill set that fits what the Cowboys are trying to do, which is fine. If you have a particular like for what you're trying to do, I understand that. So I really liked Jake Ferguson out of Wisconsin. Not as much as some other tight ends, but I think that he was a good pick for the Cowboys at with their 4th round selection. So can't fault them there. Then you go to round 5. They took all 4 picks. So they go with Matt Walz. I can't even pronounce his last name. I do apologize. You double dip at offensive line. It's a fantastic pick in my opinion because of what he could bring to the table. Again, it's all about what you're trying to do for your offensive line. I think that was the theme of this year. Can you build up the interiors of both your offensive and defensive sides of the ball? And, he's a guy where if you want to plug him in as your swing tackle for now, as Terrence Steele takes the role, sure. For starting right tackle, yeah, that's fine. But also, this guy can work his way into the starting rotation. He has that type of potential. He kind of has that ability to really just step in and, be a solid player for you. But, again, that's going off of the potential that he can reach that. And the Cowboys can develop him to do that. And it's kind of crazy because a lot of the picks that the Cowboys made were guys from the Senior Bowl, which is interesting because usually they don't take so many players from the Senior Bowl. So that was something that I thought was neat to say the least. Then you go with Doran Bland, the cornerback out of Fresno State. Another good, solid pickup, especially that, you have a lot of cornerbacks in that room, so he's not going to be as pressured to develop. So there's that. I'm not super familiar on the guy. I'm not going to lie. I don't want to give you any false information, but based off of what was told to me, solid rotational piece with your cornerback room. Now, Damon Clark, the linebacker out of LSU, he reminds me a lot of a Jabril Cox type of guy. He's probably not going to play until the midway point of the season, if he's lucky to get at that point. But if he pans out, you got yourself a starting caliber lineman. Again, if potential is reached. He honestly could have, if the injury concerns weren't a problem, he's probably going into the 2nd or 3rd round. But you get him in the 5th, solid value there. In my opinion, the favorite pick of the entire draft for me was John Ridgeway, the defensive tackle out of Arkansas. The guy has the ability to be a very damn good player for you, especially in that interior of the defensive line. He has all those intangibles that I would like in a defensive lineman, big beefy guy. But, we'll see how the Cowboys play this thing. I think you got ingredients for Dan Quinn to really kind of morph this line. Like, I like that they went more so with the front seven with the defense and also on your offensive line a bit. That's where I felt this draft needed to go. And they did just that. For day 3, altogether, I'm going to give the Cowboys a solid B+. So if you add all the grades together, I'm going to give this draft a solid B. And I know I don't want to repeat myself, but I've said this on Twitter and I'll say it here. This is a boom or bust draft with also the attitude built into it. All of these guys that you took are guys that, you felt like, hey, these are individuals that have swagger to them, that have a sense of nasty side or angry players, which that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. Which, that loss to the 49ers, I think, changed the way the Cowboys want to build up this team. And I like it. I like what they did there. Now, there's a lot more pressure on these guys to succeed because of the inability for the Cowboys to really build this roster through free agency. And that's the problem. The problem for the Cowboys is that and that's why I feel bad for these guys, because they have to show out if the Cowboys want to say that we improved as a roster from last year. And not even record-wise. I'm talking about like from a skill position-based thing. I still believe the Cowboys are not a better team, but I want them to prove me wrong. I will admit it if I'm wrong. A lot of people, I understand that people think I'm being stupid or I'm just being super pessimistic, but I'm not going to lie to you and say that, all these guys are going to instantly come in and do their thing. They have the potential. They showed that they can do it. It's now up to the Cowboys coaching staff to get these guys in the position to do their part. That's all. This feels like a draft that you're setting yourself up for the next year in like building up to that crescendo of, okay, now that we got all these guys, we can go into next year and we can actually have a bit more flexibility. And that's cool. I like that. You look at the players that you have on the roster and who's a free agent next year. I think this draft puts you in a decent position for year 2023 where, hey, if Tyler Smith pans out at left guard or left tackle, awesome. But then you got to figure out, what are you going to do with Terrence Steele? Is Matt going to be that guy that steps in at right tackle? And so it's a lot of players that the Cowboys need to figure out, and you got to just hope they do their part. We'll see how they pan out in the NFL, and I don't want to go on forever and ever. But I like the attitude that Dallas brought with this draft. I'm not going to be jumping over the moon for it, though, like some other people that might say, oh, the Cowboys did amazing. The Cowboys did solid. I'm not going to get my hopes up like I did in years past because, again, it's a cycle of they don't do anything in free agency. They do some stuff in the draft that makes us think, oh, my God, the Cowboys look amazing now, and then we get disappointed. Prove me wrong. If this draft class can just net some guys that are solid production individuals, I think the Cowboys are in a much better position going into 2023, whether McCarthy's here, but we'll see how things pan out. We'll see if the Cowboys are truly not done in free agency, who I think Stephen Jones is lying about. I think that son of a bitch is lying. But that's just my opinion. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little recap of the 2022 NFL Draft for the Dallas Cowboys. A B overall. A lot of potential, but the floor needs to be worked on, if that makes any sense. So if Dallas can get these guys to their to the best of their potential, we'll be all set to go, ladies and gentlemen, and that's what I'm hoping for. But again, I'm not gonna sell you guys high on guys that we probably might not see start. So that's just me. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys enjoyed this draft recap, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a good one, guys. Bye-bye.